Hi guys, I am back again with another video. I hope you're all having a good day. I hope you guys all had a good Earth Day. I did not really get to celebrate or go outside because I was getting over being food poisoned. So I hope you guys all got to get some fresh air and spend some time in nature. I'm living vicariously through you, but I am recording this on the 23rd, so the day after Earth Day and the day before Venus moves into Gemini and 2 days before Uranus moves into Gemini. So this video is going to be about the Uranus and Gemini transit specifically and everything that that's going to entail, what that's going to bring into our life. There is going to be some major changes with this transit. We have had Uranus in Taurus for almost 8 years now. There's this interesting cycle with the number 8 happening because even Chiron has been in Aries for 8 years at this point, and we just had the new moon conjunct Chiron. So there's a lot going on in the planets right now, and I feel like it is important for us to pay attention to these transits because it's really showing how we are ushering in this new way of being, this new way of life, this new way of identifying and showing up in the world, and existing, you know, as a people, as individuals, but also as communities, within society, within the world and things like that. So I really was excited to talk about this transit. I'm a Gemini, so I'm kind of like nervous to see like how this transit is going to affect us specifically, like the Gemini risings, especially the Gemini suns. So I am going to be breaking down how this transit is going to impact you based on your rising sign. I want to focus on rising signs specifically because it'll be able to better address the houses and how those houses are going to be impacted. So if you want to see that specific part of the video, of course, I'll have timestamps, and you can check that out as well. But I'm going to start by just talking a little bit about what's been going on with Taurus, what trends have gone through Taurus while we've had Uranus in Taurus, and then what we can expect with Uranus transitioning into Gemini. So as I was saying, Uranus has been in Taurus for about 8 years. It entered Taurus originally back on May 15th of 2018, and so it's been there since. And we all know that, especially if you live in America, but honestly the entire world was impacted by COVID, jobs, and how we make money and how we function in the world and how we get our basic needs met. All of those things were impacted once Uranus did enter Taurus. Taurus is also associated with like our basic needs, so our health, being able to breathe, our natural resources. I talked about how Taurus can be related to our natural resources in the Chiron video because I talked about Chiron moving into Taurus, which I'll get into a bit more in this video as well. But Taurus being associated with like our natural resources or our basic needs, we saw that being impacted once Uranus entered Taurus, and we had to navigate COVID and social distancing, and it affected a lot of businesses as well. The concept of like service workers and those people being advocated for, and then being on the front lines throughout it, like all of those things were shown. People being crazy about like hoarding toilet paper and resources, like all of those things showed the changes and the fluctuations that come with Uranus. Not even just fluctuations. I wrote down here, Uranus shakes things up. So it's very much about adaptability. So how we respond to change, and sometimes unexpected change or change that can feel like chaotic or a little bit hard to navigate, you know? And so it is forcing us, Uranus forces us to adapt and forces us to be resourceful. Over the past several years, we had different transits going through Taurus that emphasized this relationship we were having with Uranus and how Uranus was impacting us. So at first, it was the North Node that was in Taurus, and that took place from January 18th, 2022 to July 17th of 2023. So that's when we had the North Node in Taurus and the South Node in Scorpio. So then that North Node in Taurus, that was also emphasizing, okay, we need to realize how the way that we're approaching, whether it's our finances, again, our sense of security, our spending habits, our investments, how we give or receive, you know, how we're approaching those things needs to change because it's not working and it's not sustainable. And so the North Node in Taurus challenged us to start to adapt and start to find new ways to make money, spend money, and ultimately navigate our life. And like I said, those resources that we need are means of like survival in that sense of comfort and security. That's very much Taurus. And so we had the North Node in Taurus that really challenged us in terms of how we view our finances as well. I remember talking a lot about at the time self-worth when it comes to what you can acquire and what you already have and what you feel you deserve, what you feel you're capable of acquiring and things of that nature, because Taurus energy or like second house energy will bring up themes of how our own self-worth and what we feel that we are worthy of receiving impacts our ability to manifest. And so that's why when you are manifesting things like affirmations and you know, just getting into alignment spiritually is important before you can truly have the life you want or receive the things you want, because sometimes our own mental blockages, our own emotional blockages are preventing us from really building a solid foundation. That sometimes even if we were to acquire what we wanted, we may self-sabotage or we may spend it all or whatever it may be. And so it was about realizing that we need to have more foresight, that we need to start planning, that we need to think about our long-term future, our long-term sense of security, what it is that we really value, you know, and what we should be really investing in. And so then after the North Node in Taurus, we had Jupiter in Taurus. And so that could have brought up like expenses. And again, how are we navigating our finances? Where are we putting, you know, how are we utilizing our resources and where are we putting things? What are we investing in? And are those things returning to us? Is it expanding or is it just consuming more? Are we just consuming, you know? So Jupiter can be a planet that does relate to abundance, but it can also relate to excess. And so we have to be mindful of when we're overdoing something, over investing in something, overspending, and sometimes Taurus can relate to like hedonism. So when we're doing it out of a sense of trying to seek comfort, trying to escape, or trying to validate ourselves. And so it's about seeking that validation, or again, finding that sense of self-worth in something greater than just the material or just consumption. It's more so about what you can create and what you can acquire through being resourceful, using, like I said, those natural resources, whether it's like your creativity or certain gifts that you might have, certain skills that you've acquired through your own experiences, through navigating your environment and things like that. And so I do think that Taurus can also show where we have a lot of natural gifts, a lot of natural instincts that when we tap into them, they do help us manifest. They do help us provide ourselves with security and feel more stable, and feel more capable of creating, you know, and manifesting more or acquiring more. So that is also very important, knowing how those transits did impact us. As I said, the North Node was in Taurus from January 18th, 2022 to July 17th, 2023. Jupiter entered Taurus on May 16th, 2023 until May 25th of 2024. So we've had all of these transits really kind of like helping us integrate these lessons into our life, helping bring awareness to what Uranus and Taurus, and, you know, all of these planets were working together. So Uranus and Taurus and Jupiter and Taurus. I just say Uranus because it has spent so much time in Taurus. So what Uranus and Taurus was really emphasizing in regards to what needs to change, what needs to transform, and what needs to like be innovated, you know. I think that that's been made very clear in how a lot of people are saying, like, we can't keep living how we've been living, you know, environmentally speaking, how we treat the earth, how we treat animals, how we treat our own bodies, the things that we are consuming, that we're subjected to consuming at this point. That needs to change if we want to see like the health of the earth improve. Taurus being related to resources, it's going to show how much, you know, these past few years really put us in that state of mind where it's like, okay, like, how can I start to change my life to respond to the state of the world and to make sure I have what I need in the long run, and to be able to respond to emergencies or any unexpected things that could happen. It also showed a lot of people when it comes to like our government, even with like recently food stamps, like that was a thing. All of these things are Uranus and Taurus themes. And so it shows how we weren't able to rely on government resources or state resources as much. We started to understand our relationship with our own resources, again, our own natural resources, what we can acquire for ourselves or what we can build, what we can create or manifest for ourselves, versus where we're looking to receive that from someone else or somewhere else. So Uranus and Taurus really changed how a lot of people live. It made people cut back. It made people be more mindful of the foods that they were eating, or the things that they were putting in their body, the supplements that they were consuming, or it even increased the interest in supplements. It showed people that we aren't getting all of the nutrients we need from our food. And so a lot of people started to use more supplements and started to talk about more alternative medicine approaches and things like that, you know? So that became more popular. That's also Uranus and Taurus. Taurus, again, is like our values, our needs, our habits, how we go about getting those things, like those needs met, you know, how we build our own sense of security, how we go about protecting ourselves or protecting even like our assets and the things that we value, you know? So Uranus and Taurus is going to emphasize our desire to have what we need, you know what I mean? And it's going to emphasize the impulse or like the instinct to think more about those things. I do think that Uranus is like a mental planet. I do feel like it's associated with it is associated with Aquarius, for instance, an air sign. And so it does relate to innovation in that way, and, you know, thinking ahead and thinking outside of the box as well, you know? So having foresight, it teaches people to have foresight, to know when to plan and how to plan accordingly in a way that is going to also allow more freedom. Uranus is also associated with freedom. It's associated with like rebellion at times, or even liberation. So it's also showing in the ways that we are kind of taking back our power, or liberating ourselves from certain systems and dynamics. And so it could also show where we were codependent to certain things, or like I said, reliant on certain things, or expected resources or support from certain things or people, you know? And so have that kind of shock of realizing that, you know, you can't rely on certain things, you can't, you know, get what you needed from certain places that maybe you used to. Earth sign energy, or even Taurus being a fixed sign, it is going to be related to like, you know, what you're used to, what is stable, what is even predictable at times, what's reliable. And so it showed that the things that we were used to, the approach that we were used to taking to getting our needs met changed, and it changed drastically, and it made us change drastically. So as Uranus enters Gemini, I feel like that is going to shift from, you know, our basic needs, our natural resources, our environmental needs, our environmental resources, into our mental needs, into our social environments, into our relationships, and how we communicate and express ourselves, and how we learn from each other, how we share. So it is an extension of, you know, getting our needs met, but it's now, how do we relate to others and how can we communicate? I believe that Uranus in Gemini we're going to see a lot of changes in regards to like social media, even possibly censorship on social media, or how like different social media avenues popping up, becoming more popular. different like social media strategies, media in general, film, TV, movies, streaming platforms. I feel like those things are going to change drastically. Branding and how we market ourselves, how we can make money, especially online or in our local communities, in more intimate communities. So like people in our neighborhood, people that we grew up around, people like our siblings or our family, or, you know, working with other people and coming together to, whether it's like share or barter or exchange, that energy is going to become more popular and more needed, as well as we start to see how our world is changing and how we communicate with each other is changing and how we relate to each other. We've already seen this with the internet, and you know, the internet's constantly evolving, and even with like critiques of social media and how much like Instagram has changed, for instance, or X has changed, and how a lot of people have said, oh, make your own platforms or start to create your own website so that you can have your own place to share your voice and to share, you know, what you're interested in. That is actually, I feel like that's going to become more popular. I think blog culture is going to pick up again. I think people are going to start to become more interested in reading and writing and sharing thoughts and words, poetry, and things like that. So I think on a personal level, a lot of people are going to start to feel called to be more expressive, start to find ways to be innovative when it comes to sharing their ideas. They may be more spontaneous when it comes to, you know, say if you've been having a hard time holding back, sharing your voice on social media, posting and things like that, you might suddenly feel more inspired to do that, or something might push you to just be like, F it. You might get certain opportunities. You could even get certain opportunities to do something that has to do with communication, writing, working with other people, sharing your ideas. There could be something to do with like publishing for many people, with Mercury or Gemini being associated with like writing, publishing, editing, you know, written communication. And so those things, you may see an uptick in those things in your life or in your personal interests as well. Another thing I think Uranus and Gemini is going to bring up is like AI and the concept of AI, and like just like the tech industry and this digital boom that's taking place. I have been getting a lot of like downloads and just like impressions on the fact that I think that we're going to start to see like a lot of information or like data problems. I don't even know how to say it, but it feels like there's going to be storage issues or issues with being able to communicate. I know some people, and this is not to fearmonger, because like I hate hearing those things, and I'm like, it is very much a reality and it could possibly happen, but even like you know, outages and things of that nature, where we might see our ability to communicate be cut off or something like that. And so I think that that's also something that may take place. I feel like it could be like a storage issue, like a data center shutting down or something of that nature. But I know that with AI, the concept of data centers and how much energy that it's taking up and how much it is harming the environment is also a factor. So I think that's the extension from Taurus to Gemini, how this tech industry has become harmful to our earth and harmful to our natural resources and how we used to obtain things. And yes, innovation is important and adaptability is important, but we still have to be mindful of how it impacts the person and how it impacts our ability to you know, truly connect and build together and rely on one another, because in a lot of ways, technology does isolate as well. And so that is going to be, I think that's going to highly be emphasized during the Uranus and Gemini transit. And if I didn't mention it as well, Uranus is going to be in Gemini for almost like 7 years. It will be in Gemini until 2033. Yes, it's like feels like so long, but I'm like, yeah, we're in 2026, 2033. So it will enter Gemini on the 25th, and then it will, of this month, it'll stay in Gemini until 2033. May 22nd of 2033 is when it will finally move out of Gemini. So it'll be there for a minute. So I do think that these themes are going to be emphasized as we deal with these transits. So keep that in mind, especially in how you navigate things. I think it's going to be very important when it comes to like storage or privacy and I was saying censorship, but I also think it will have to do with like, you know, I don't want to say identity theft and things like that, but that could come up. So be mindful of that. I just think that we are going to see more tech issues, more changes when it comes to how we navigate it because of how advanced our society has become. And so I do think with Gemini and Mercury being associated with like trickster energy or being adaptable, being a chameleon, identity and AI and tech is definitely going to be like something that I think we should be concerned about. Because I will say Uranus can bring a lot of good change. It could push people to transform their lives. It can help people to finally liberate themselves from like a certain state of mind or a certain state of being, but it can also feel challenging. It can also feel very uncomfortable. It can also feel a little bit chaotic, or even sometimes like pressures being applied, you know, like your back is pushed up against the wall, like it's now or never, or you know, like you have to make something happen by all means necessary or at all costs. And so keep that in mind as well. Like it does feel like it will bring up ways that we have to, whether it's protect ourselves or change something for the sake of it being more safe or stable ultimately, because Uranus can bring instability. Another thing I feel we might see is a change when it comes to transportation or how we get around. There could be like a new transit system that pops up like in a major city or something. There could be changes to it does make me think more local travel, so like a train or a bus system or more accessibility for people to get around, whether it's in their neighborhoods and things like that. So you could see things like that changing around you. I do also feel like it will bring up, although Gemini isn't necessarily associated with like long distance travel or international travel, I do think it's going to start to make people consider if their local environment actually sustains their needs, and if, you know, something were to happen, are they where they want to be? And so that is also going to come up, and I do think it is going to encourage people to like travel or explore different walks of life. The third house or Gemini energy can be associated with languages, so it can make people want to explore different cultures, different languages, and see if those places are more fitting for them. So keep that in mind as well. If that's something you've been thinking about or exploring in your own personal life, that could end up being emphasized, or you could finally make that possible once Uranus enters Gemini. And the last thing I want to say about Uranus in Gemini for the collective is that Gemini energy is associated with the marketplace. It's associated with sales and how we can make money, and how we can negotiate, or I said barter earlier and things of that nature, but it also can be how we like exchange resources. So if that is money, it can be how we exchange a skill or even knowledge or information for money. So I think that we're going to see a lot more like influencers or people who are starting their own like consulting businesses or doing something online where they're able to like offer a service or offer a guide or offer something of that nature, that is able to showcase their own skills and their own, you know, point of view that helps them to also like change their life or like create more flexibility. So a lot more people wanting to work like remotely or work from home or work from their phone or laptop, and being able to be like move around, with Gemini being mutable, that is going to become a reality for a lot of people. People are going to desire more flexibility in how they get what they need, how they acquire what they need, how they make their life happen, you know, how they manifest things. And so it's going to be about being more adaptable, being more strategic in a sense, you know, working with other people, especially like-minded people, collaborations and networking and things like that, to also make sure that you are surrounded by people who can help you build whatever it is you're trying to build. So keep that in mind as well. I think that we're already seeing that a lot, especially with like Pluto and Aquarius, but I think with Uranus moving into Gemini, social media and people being able to create autonomy and change their lives through the marketing and the sales, and like having their own, being their own market, you know, being autonomous and like not working for someone else. You may see people working with brands, you know, we already see that with people having brand deals and being brand ambassadors. So we may see more of that, where people are now negotiating in a personal relationship, business relationship with a single brand or a single entity, rather than working for that entity. It's more about being able to move and fluctuate through different markets and being adaptable. So that's why I want to go through the houses for each sign and talk a little bit about how I think that will impact each rising sign based on the house you're going to have Uranus transitioning into. So I'm going to focus more so on the house that Uranus will be in once it enters Gemini. So then that will give you the opportunity to reflect on the house before and everything you're taking from the lessons that you learned with Uranus and Taurus. Today specifically is actually a very important day as well, because it's just the last couple days before Uranus will officially enter Gemini, and that places Uranus in Taurus currently at 29 degrees, which is an anaretic degree or a critical degree in astrology, which relates to major change, a cycle being closed out, full circles, a major ending, you know. So we don't just have Uranus at 29 degrees, we also have Venus in Taurus at 29 degrees. So they are hanging out together for these last couple of days. Tomorrow, Venus will move into Gemini, and then the next day, Uranus will move into Gemini. So the next couple of days are going to be very powerful in terms of really reflecting on, you know, how we have changed our lives, how we do want to continue to move forward and create that change for ourselves in terms of how we acquire our resources. Again, what we feel we're deserving of, what we feel we're capable of building, how we can work with others to do that. With all of the Aries transits we just had, that emphasized our own sense of leadership and initiating like that kind of lifestyle. And so now Venus conjunct Uranus is like, okay, what else needs to change? What else do I need to like let go of? What else do I need to challenge in terms of what I'm still attached to, or what I'm still holding on to, my sense of comfort, or you know, just traditional thinking potentially, or just how you are used to showing up in the world, how you're used to getting your needs met, again, as I was saying earlier. So Chiron will also enter Taurus. I know I was talking about Chiron, and you can go and watch the Chiron and Aries video, because I do talk about Chiron moving into Taurus in that video as well. But I mentioned Chiron enters Taurus. It'll enter Taurus on June 19th. And that is also going to show where we have certain wounds related to our self-worth and our finances, our resources, and what we have or what we don't have. And so it's about challenging, you know, like, why do we think this way, and how have we been programmed, really, you know, like, to think this way, and how can we challenge those mentalities and get out of survival mode, or get out of like the need to have certain things, and question why we feel we need those things, and how can we again be more resourceful and cut back and rely on ourselves more, or again our community and those natural resources I keep emphasizing. I do think a lot of people they may feel, you know, I don't want to say depressed, but I do feel like it's going to challenge people to look at the world differently and look at themselves differently, and also like ask themselves how they truly define success. Like, what does success look like to you? What does comfort look like to you? What does security really mean for you? And not just what other people have told you looks good, or, you know, it's not about trying to keep up with the Joneses or that kind of energy anymore. It's not about even we're seeing a change in social media where if people are like doing the whole overconsumption thing and the mukbangs and the major hauls, they're getting more critiqued than ever because people are not prioritizing overconsumption as much anymore, and people are advocating for mindfulness that the world is suffering and a lot of people in the world are suffering. And so it is about finding new ways to create those comforts and also get back to the basics, you know what I mean? Like when it comes to connection and community and intimacy and food, and like just making sure everyone has what they need, and everyone has their basic needs met. That is going to be very important. So knowing what your basic needs are, reflecting on how maybe you've gone about getting your basic needs met in ways that no longer align with you, in ways that were out of survival or were out of a sense of not deserving it, or not being enough, or not having enough, or not being where you wanted to be, or not looking a certain way, or whatever it may be. It's about knowing like everyone as an individual deserves to have their basic needs met. We all also have like natural gifts and again those resources that we can utilize to get our needs met. It doesn't matter. It's not about the material. It's not about the superficial either. You know, it's not about how you look or anything like that. It's about what you truly have to offer and how you're showing up. And so keep that in mind and allow that to help you redefine your sense of self-worth through these Taurus transits, but specifically Chiron in Taurus, especially over the next couple days with Uranus conjunct Venus, because Venus is very much what do we want, what do we feel we deserve. Venus rules Taurus, so very much a good time to try to integrate those things into your life and also try to detach from old ways of thinking in terms of what you need, why you think you need it, etc. But again, to emphasize that 29-degree transit that we are having today, that is a big deal because it is relating to something that is finally a cycle that's finally closing out, you know, a chapter in our life where we were, you know, obviously this was an extended transit, so we were experiencing a lot of changes. A 29-degree transit can really show where we're about to like step over the threshold into a new state of being, into a new era, into an awakening of some kind. And that's why it shows when a lot of things are coming full circle, or even awakening within you. You know what I mean? It could feel like a major breakthrough or aha moment. So this is actually exciting because I do feel like the next couple days are really going to help people solidify what it is they want or why they're doing what they're doing and things like that. Okay, so starting with Gemini, if you are Gemini rising, you're going to have Uranus in your first house. Uranus in the first house is going to affect your sense of self. It's going to be your identity, your impressions, how other people are receiving you. And also it could be like your immediate environment and how you're responding to your immediate environment and vice versa. So whether you feel comfortable or like you feel like you belong, you know, in that environment, those themes can come up. Your own sense of appearance, you know, how you look, how you want to come across to others could come up. It could be a change in your style or how you present yourself, in your mannerisms, or how you express yourself through like body language or movement. It could show in how you present yourself. Like say if you do have a social media platform, if you do have a business, if you are like if you work face to face with people, it could inspire you to maybe want to become more adaptable in some way. I was speaking on languages earlier, and I could see it making you want to like learn a new language or acquire some new way of being or identifying. And so for Gemini risings, I do feel like this transit is going to be like super transformative for you. I do feel like 7 years from now, you're going to look back and be like, wow, that really changed who I am and how I respond to the world and how I navigate the world. And again, what I think I'm capable of and what how I approach my problems, how I problem solve and things of that nature. And again, what you're able to create for yourself. You know, I do think Uranus is about creation, with it being about innovation, with it being about change. It's about adaptability. So I feel like Geminis are going to look back years from now and be like, oh my gosh, like if you already felt like your life was changing, I feel like it is going to change even more, and it could change in a drastic way. But I also feel for you Geminis, it's going to be positive. I feel that now that Saturn is out of, for Gemini rising, Saturn was in your 10th house for a really long time. So it really solidified, what do you want? What are you trying, like, what are you going after? What are you trying to achieve? And for the past few years, Gemini risings could have been like, I don't know for real, like a lot of things, but I'm not sure. And so I feel like there was a lot of weighing what matters and what you feel called to do, and, you know, what your emotions were rooted in, and all of these things that were being processed while Saturn and Neptune were in Pisces for all that time. Now we have Saturn and Neptune in our 11th house, and that is in Aries. And so it's finally kind of ushering this new energy. Pisces can be very elusive, it's very mutable, it's very watery. And so I do feel like it was a very reflective time of our life. Whereas now that we're moving into this Mars ruled sign, we're seeing more action, we're seeing more cardinal energy, and we're able to move forward. So Geminis, I feel that with the planets in Aries in our 11th house, it's really helping us solidify our priorities. What is it that we really want, and how are we going to go about getting that? And who can help us get there as well? I feel like that was a big challenge in our, like, especially if you were going through your Saturn return. But if just dealing with Saturn in the 10th house, even if it's not your Saturn return, is going to feel a little bit difficult or challenging, or it could even feel limiting. You could have experienced delays or redirections and things like that. You could have been like, why me? But with Saturn in the 10th house, I feel like it could have delayed our ability to know how to get what we wanted. So now that these planets have moved into Aries, we're having the aha moments, and we're like, okay, this is how we're going to go after this. But Uranus in Gemini is coming in, and it's about to give us all these options, and it's about to show us how we are truly capable. We could, you know, take over, not, I don't want to say take over, but like really navigate any lane if we wanted to, being mutable, being an air sign. Mercury in general is an extremely adaptable planet, and so it can shapeshift and it can navigate all of these different environments. And so keep that in mind as you navigate these changes in your life. Bet on yourself and trust in your own skills, trust in your own experiences, trust in the knowledge that you've acquired, trust in your natural desire to like always be a student and always be learning. Like, you will be able to adapt. And so if you're worried about that, if you're like, oh no, like, you know, what is my life about to look like with Uranus entering Gemini? Is it going to be a bunch of chaos? Am I not going to be able to control anything or handle anything? There may be times where you're like, oh shit, like I don't know how to respond to this. But this transit is to show you that yes, you do. Yes, you actually do. You got this. You know, it could bring like a feeling of anxiety a little bit. It could shock our nervous system a little bit. I've seen people saying, oh, like, you know, mutable placements or Gemini placements are going to be so anxious throughout this transit. I don't think it's going to be anxious. I do feel like you could feel a little like manic, like more energized, you know, because Uranus also can be like a shock to the system. Like I said, it shakes things up. It can feel like a electrifying energy. And so you could just feel more motivated. You could feel more like momentum building in your life. And at times, like when I say manic, you will want to be mindful of like knowing when to slow down, knowing when to not take on too many things, knowing when to not spread your energy too thin. But I feel like it's going to push you. Like I said, it kind of forces us to adapt. It's going to push you to realize, oh wait, I can actually handle more than I think. I actually am more skilled than I think. I'm more resourceful or adaptable than I think. And so that is where it's going to challenge you to realize, like, you are the resource, you got this, you can make the change happen. And I also feel that Geminis, you guys are going to be leading the pack in terms of social change and how we can communicate and like work together, because Gemini is so mutable and it is focused on like hearing everyone out and understanding how everyone has a unique point of view and a point of view that could contribute to the solution. And so that is how we should be approaching our desire to see change and our ability to create change. So that's for you, Gemini risings. Next will be Taurus risings. All right. If you're a Taurus rising, you are going to be having Uranus enter your second house. That is going to emphasize themes of, again, I was talking about it because Taurus is already associated with the second house, our self-worth, how we acquire things, what we invest in, our value systems, how we feel we deserve certain things that we're trying to acquire, our habits, and just what we deem important, you know, what we find ourselves investing in, entertaining, consuming, things of that nature. And so having Uranus enter Gemini and it being associated with our finances, the second house is mostly blatantly associated with our finances, like the ABC astrology of it all. It would be finances, money, and our investments and things. So it being in your second house, it is going to impact how you make money. Taurus, I was saying it for everyone, but for you guys specifically, I do think this is like an opportunity to get in your bag, to have like multiple streams of income, to figure out how to make like passive income, to become more like resourceful or skilled when it comes to sales and marketing, doing research on those things, taking classes on those things. I think Gemini energy is also really good with like hands-on experiences, or like being street smart. So also putting yourself in environments where you're going to learn those things naturally. You also may be forced to learn those things naturally by being put in certain environments. So if you are a Taurus rising, you could see a lot of changes in how you make your money and how you acquire certain resources. You could become more like non-traditional, you know. I feel like rather than having the traditional job, or even if you have a business, say you have like only one stream of income, I could see you really diversifying it with Uranus and Gemini. So that is going to be a very powerful opportunity for you, because if you do have multiple skills, say you write, but you also can sew, but you also make music, then it's going to show how you can start to bring all of those things together and like create this brand and this identity for yourself that shows people also how you're credible, how you're worthy, how they can invest in you as well, with the second house being opposite the eighth house, other people's money, other people's resources. So it is also about attracting the right opportunities or creating the right opportunities to showcase your skills and showcase what you what matters to you as well. It's not just going to be about how you want other people to invest in you, but also what you want other people to invest in general. I think Uranus and Gemini, you could feel inclined to like want to help other people. You could want to create like a nonprofit, for instance. I could see things like that taking place. The concept of bartering I talked about earlier, that could come up for Taurus risings. But I do think it's also going to be about just advocating more for what matters to you. So even when it comes to making money or acquiring money, you may not even feel inclined to necessarily spend it on yourself, but it could be also you learning how to invest in other things to help it come back to you, or to help, you know, generate resources for other things, other causes as well. For Taurus risings, Uranus in your second house could also impact like the things you're consuming, the things you're investing in on when it comes to your food. So when it comes to what you eat, the quality of your food as well, you could want to start to look into like outsourcing. Like say you want to only get local food, you know what I mean? Or you only want to work with brands that use like seasonal ingredients, or you only start to use seasonal ingredients. Like it could be something like that. But again, with like Gemini being associated with like local matters, local travel, you could become more interested in using like local resources in your environment, or being more mindful of even like herbs or things like that that could help to heal you, or to, you know, change what you're consuming, and maybe replace what you're consuming with healthier alternatives, or things that are just going to be more accessible to you as well, rather than outsourcing to, you know, these international brands and things like that that have who knows how long they've been in these factories, trucks, etc. And so that's also something that I'm seeing. It could also be wanting to learn more about nutrition, learn more about, you know, the food that you're consuming and how it's impacting your body and things like that as well. How it's impacting your health and your own sense of comfort in your body as well. Not just comfort, but like, do you feel good? Do you feel like you're capable of doing what you need to do to acquire your resources as well? Do you feel healthy? Like, and that's going to tie into your habits, creating healthier habits, or creating habits around, you know, changing your habits drastically. And so that is what I think you're going to see. You're probably going to feel more called to become more like radicalized in some way. You know, you could learn something, you could get sick, you could, and I don't want to say that to anyone, but like say you end up getting sick, or you realize you have some kind of health issue, or you just learn something about what you're consuming, and then you realize, yeah, I don't want to participate in that anymore. I don't want to invest in that anymore. We can even see how that's happening on a societal level, when it comes to like Zionism, you know, not wanting to invest in certain companies, DEI with Target, things like that, you know. So that could become more emphasized for you guys, specifically Taurus risings. All right, Cancer risings, you guys have Gemini in your 12th house. So this transit is going to be entering your 12th house, or Uranus will be entering your 12th house and impacting the house of hidden enemies, of hidden things in general, of the subconscious mind, of the unseen, and a lot to do with spiritual matters, you know. So I do think this is going to feel like a spiritual awakening for you, Cancer risings. You could even realize you have certain gifts. You can start to receive more like spiritual downloads. You can end up experiencing a connection with like a guide or an ancestor. You could have like an actual spiritual encounter. You could realize you have medium abilities, where you like actually see a spirit or something, or you just start to see more signs. This could increase your belief in being able to communicate with, you know, the other side, or with other entities as well. It could help you to realize like that you have certain gifts, you know. It could help increase your intuition, or help you become more aware of certain things. You might even feel like, why am I so called to this? Or why do I feel so intensely about this? And then it's confirmed to you through the transit that, oh, you were supposed to like trust that instinct, or you were supposed to trust those signs and synchronicities, you know. So I think that for you, Cancer risings, this transit's really going to teach you how to trust yourself, and how to build those natural resources through your instincts and through your intuition. But it's also going to show you where you have a tendency to like read too much into things. It could show your anxiety. It could show where you may have a tendency to like project or assume. And so those things, being able to decipher between your assumptions and your intuition, will also be very important. Because it is the house of hidden things, hidden information, hidden enemies, it could also bring up an awareness that you can't trust everyone. You want to be careful of doing anything malicious. You want to be careful of doing anything illegal. anything that could get you into any trouble, you don't want to get caught up with that, and you don't want to be like associated with other people who may have like hidden intentions or be up to no good as well, because that could really negatively impact you. You could end up getting like in trouble, you could end up getting like a charge or something, you could go get arrested for the day, you get thrown in the local jail or something, you could get a warrant or something because of like not following a rule, or because you did something sneaky or illegal or, you know, taboo. Basically, it doesn't even have to be necessarily with the law, but it could also just be a sense of feeling outcasted or condemned, or you know, just casted out in some way or shamed in some way because of something that you've done. It can even show you where maybe you haven't done anything at all, or maybe it's a matter of perception. Like I said, it can show where things are unseen. So it could also bring up matters of perception, your own perception, and then other people's perception of you. So it can also show where other people may tend to project onto you. You may start to see people's true colors more. You may start to like learn secrets that people were either keeping from you, or just things that you didn't see before. Maybe it wasn't an intentional like kept secret, but it's something that is like, it could be something shocking. It could be like you learning something, uncovering information. And so again, that's what's going to be the shock to the system. That's going to be the thing that shakes things up. That's going to be the thing that helps you to ultimately transform. And the 12th house is the last house of the zodiac cycle, and so it shows this ending or this rebirth, you know, this death right before a rebirth, this major ending. And so it also shows that you're ending a major cycle in terms of how you connect to your intuition, how you trust your own ideas, how you also like feed into other people, you know, what they're saying or what they believe, or, you know, how you're discerning between your own instincts and others. That's going to be super, super important for you specifically, Cancer, as Uranus enters your 12th house. So keep that in mind. Even you know, finding your own practices. The 12th house is opposite the 6th house. So coming up with your own rituals, having better sleeping habits, so that you can connect to your dreams more, so that you can pick up on any signs that you're receiving. You know, maybe there's a need to create like an altar space, be in prayer, have the rituals and be consistent in things of that nature, because it will help you to communicate better with yourself, others, your guides, whatever it is that you're trying to do. But I do think things are going to come up to help you. Like, I also think it will bring up like shadow work and things that you need to heal as well, things that you need to kind of allow to like die out and be released, so that you can move forward, or that you can feel liberated, because Uranus is associated with like freedom, liberation, and things of that nature. So keep that in mind. That's for you, Cancer risings. Leo risings. All right, guys. So I'm actually excited for you, because I feel like this transit is going to like shake up your life in a really positive way. I like actually just channeled miracles, but that's what I'm thinking of when it comes to Uranus in the 11th house. I feel like it could change up how you relate to people, who you connect with, who you keep around you, the circles that you circulate and things like that. But I also do think it's going to be positive in terms of bringing people into your life that are going to help usher whatever progress you're trying to make. It's going to feel like guardian angels. It's going to feel like miracles. It's going to feel like where have you been all my life, or like right place at the right time. That's what I think Leos are going to be experiencing with Uranus in Gemini in your 11th house. The 11th house is about your networks. It's about your hopes, your dreams, your desires, the things you're trying to achieve. And I always say the people who are going to help you achieve them. And so who you surround yourself by is going to be very important. So Uranus in Gemini could shake that up a little bit. It could make you realize like you want to connect with other people, or that maybe there could be a conflict in communication that makes you realize you don't relate to someone as much, or you guys aren't on the same page anymore, that you again don't desire or wish for the same things, you know. And so with everything else I've said about Uranus moving from Taurus and that being our value systems, etc., what it is we are investing in and why, that is going to impact you moving into your 11th house, because it is, you know, what do you want? What are you trying to achieve? Who do you associate with? How does that reflect your own nature and your own value systems? And so, keep that in mind, because I just feel like for Leo, also you guys are going to have Jupiter entering your sign on like the 30th. What day is it? The 30th of June, I think. Something like that. Don't quote me. It's in my other video. I can't think right now. I have too many dates in my head. But in the summer, you guys are going to be having Jupiter enter your sign. So Leo risings, you're going to have Jupiter in your first house. You're going to have Uranus in your 11th house. Like, this is like bad bitch energy. This is like go and get it. You know what I mean? And it also feels like it's going to make you very desirable. You know, it's going to really show, like, I feel like Leos and Geminis are taking shit this year. Like, Leo risings and Gemini risings, because I really feel like it's going to help you guys realize how dynamic you are, how much you have to give to the world, like how wise you are based on everything you've gone through, everything that you've experienced, and how it didn't actually set you back at all, and it actually made you like very credible, you know what I mean? Very someone who can teach people things or inspire people. And so Jupiter being in your first house, Leos, I really feel like that is going to like really help you guys find your place in the world, like find where you belong, find like what you're meant to do. You could finally feel like you get your dream career, or you could finally feel like you are like working with the people you want to work with. Some of you guys could find you end up working with like a celebrity or someone that's really influential. You could become someone who's very influential, being that Jupiter will be in your first house. So some of you could experience fame, virality, and like becoming more popular online, for instance. You could say, if you have clients, see a boom or an uptick in your clients. That is what I see for you guys, Leo risings. And that's exciting, because I feel like you guys do have a lot to offer. You guys do have a lot that you're able to create and express. And I feel that if you hold that back, and I feel some of you have been holding that back a bit, you're selling yourself short. You're not really going to be able to live up to your potential. So this transit is really pushing you to like realize your potential. And it may even like, you may even be put in positions where you're like nervous, or like, why me? Or like, oh, they saw me or chose me for this. And it's like, yeah, they did. And now it's time for you to step up and show what you're capable and show the world what you're made of, you know? So I think that's very exciting for you guys, Leos. I do think it will be important to also be mindful of, there could be like competitive energy, you know, especially with Jupiter being in your first house this summer. But with Uranus specifically in Gemini, you could find that there is this like comparison type energy. And I don't even feel like it would be coming from you guys. I just feel you could be pushed into more competitive environments, or where you will have to be mindful of like working with other people. You guys may have similar skills or even things you can offer, but it's about learning how you stand out through your own unique qualities, experiences, and point of view, you know? So you could experience competition, or you could experience having to compete, wanting to be like the better person at something, or the one who's more inquisitive about something. Like, say if you do have a social media platform, you could find yourself wanting to become more well known in your field, or stand out amongst others who do similar things as you. So I do think that that's why I say for you guys in Gemini rising specifically, I do think when it comes to like marketing yourself and a rebrand potentially, or just becoming more successful in whatever field you're in, because you're starting to put yourself out there more, people are starting to see that, they're going to start to recognize that and be like, okay, scared of you. You know, like that's the energy that I see for you, Leo risings. So as long as you lean into it and you like continue to diversify and show people everything that you're made of, I feel like you're going to be, it really feels like you will have the potential to make a name for yourself. Leo risings, I feel like you guys have really been impacted over these last few years as well, because of the Taurus transits, because like Pluto entering Aquarius, for instance, like you guys got a lot going on, like the fixed energy and all those transits that were taking place, I really do feel like Uranus also entering Gemini and being an immutable sign, especially after Pisces finally, or Saturn finally left Pisces, I feel like that is going to feel liberating for you, because you guys have Pisces in your 8th house, I believe. Yes. And so that, it felt like there could have been a lot of changes in how you relate to people, in your connections, in how you're sharing or showing up, or, you know, collaborating with others and everything I was saying. And so I do feel like this is going to feel like a more lighthearted energy, or an opportunity to like put yourself out there and reemerge ultimately. So that's really exciting. Okay, Virgo risings. I do feel you guys are going to have similar effects as Leo risings, but because it's the 10th house and not the 11th house, I do feel like it's going to impact what it is you're trying to achieve more than what it is you're going, like, that you wish for. Your sense of self-worth around your achievements more than what you're actually achieving or what's actually coming to you. Because I feel like the 11th house is the manifestations of all of your hard work and all of the things you're trying to accomplish, you know? It's that feeling of, okay, this is the community I've built through my hard work, through my efforts, through the things I've become known for, you know what I mean? But the 10th house is still you trying to build that sense of credibility, build that image for yourself, and figure out what it is you do want to be known for, and you know, what matters to you. You guys just had Saturn in Pisces opposite your rising sign in your 7th house. So this definitely impacted like your connections and how you relate to people and things of that nature. Finally, it's moving and it's out of Pisces and moving into Aries. Moving from your 7th house to your 8th house, it's still emphasizing your level of intimacy with people and how you connect to people, and also what you want to share with people. Like, how much do you want to let people in, you know? And so I think that for you, Virgo risings, you're still navigating that. And with this 10th house energy, with Uranus entering your 10th house, but with Uranus entering your 10th house, it is really going to show where can you step up or show up and show out to let it be known what you're capable of. So that's where I feel that it's similar to what I was saying to Leo, like diversifying your skills or showing what you have to offer. You could see yourself also gaining more clients, gaining more recognition, gaining more opportunities to like show what you're made of, you know? It could also be you experimenting, especially because it's Gemini, Uranus and Gemini. I feel like you guys would be experimenting a lot, Virgos. Like, you're going to try this and try that. You might gain new interests. You might be like, do I even want to do what I thought I wanted to do? Actually, let's try this for a few months and then this, you know? So these next 7 years for you guys could actually feel like you experiment a lot and you discover yourself and you start to realize what it is you truly value and what it is you actually want to achieve. And so I always say that the 10th house is not just about like making money and being successful and being well known. It's about what it is that even matters to you. What are you trying to achieve, and what makes you ambitious? Like, you know, why are you striving after whatever you're striving after? Why does it matter to you? The 10th house is a progression of the 2nd house. So I was talking about how this Taurus energy, Uranus and Taurus, Chiron and Taurus, all of these transits that we were talking about, is associated with the 2nd house. Taurus is associated with the 2nd house. And so the 2nd house is the first step in what I call the career houses, or the developmental houses, because they're all associated with the earth signs. And so the 2nd house, the 6th house, and the 10th house. The 2nd house is that first step. So all these Taurus transits were really allowing us to figure out our value systems, what it is we want, because now with Uranus entering your 10th house, it's like, how do you go and get it now? And what does that even look like? You know what I mean? It's not just assessing them on like a basic level, but now it's like, what does that look like in terms of how I show up and what I'm trying to create and leave behind as well. That's a big thing with the 10th house, the impact that you're making on the world, your legacy, and what you want to leave behind or what you're able to leave behind. And so it's thinking about that. If you have kids, for instance, it could be about wanting to teach them certain things, or be an example to them. It could also just wanting to be an example in your communities, wanting to like leave your mark. Some of you could find that you want to, like, it could be like a public speaking thing. You could want to like write books or write, you know, like share insight in some way. But I feel like it would be about you letting people realize like the knowledge that you have more, and like the experience that you had, sharing your story more, and exploring your story as well, building your story, you know what I mean? And understanding where your values lie, really, like, because of all of these other transits, and because Taurus just moved from, you know, your 9th house to your 10th house. And so I know I was talking about the second house. It's not like you guys have had that transit in your second house. I'm just saying the progression of the second, the 6th, the 10th house, it feels relevant in terms of what you guys are learning, because this is moving from Taurus to Gemini. And so having Taurus going from your 9th house, it shows you guys have been learning. Maybe you've been taking classes. Maybe you've been, you know, feeling like you've developed more awareness about certain things, or you've become wiser, or you've become more open-minded. And so that is why you are now going to be questioning, like, okay, what is it that I want to leave behind? What is it that I'm trying to achieve? What am I striving toward? What is all this work for? You know what I mean? I do think it's also going to make you question, like, what are you doing it for? And it could even make you change how you approach certain things. Like, I won't say it will make you less ambitious, but it could change your ambitions. It could make you realize, oh, I actually don't want that as much as I thought I did. You could achieve something and then realize it's not even what you wanted. And so that is something that might come up for you, Virgo risings. But I feel like it is going to, with like you guys being so much associated with like giving and being of service. I think that's very important, because Gemini really wants to relate. Gemini really wants to be understood and to understand. And so it is going to emphasize how sometimes we do things to try to be understood, but we're actually like assimilating or being a chameleon or adapting and not allowing people to see our full or our true nature. And so it's about embracing, being more candid, you know, and being more open, and finding other ways to express yourself so you can get across who you are and what you feel and what you believe and what you think to other people. And that's going to help attract those opportunities. It's going to attract the right people. It's going to attract the soul tribe, and, you know, the people you can ultimately build your legacy with. So that will be important for you, Virgo risings. And I think it will be a very productive transit for you. I think if anything, it will just feel challenging, like mentally challenging. And at times you may feel like you're questioning your direction a lot, or you're questioning, like, should I invest in this? How much, like, will this pay off? How much does this matter to me? You know? So keep that in mind. Libra risings specifically, you guys have Uranus entering your 9th house. And so I do think this is very much going to emphasize your desire for knowledge, education, wisdom, and new experiences. So you could find yourself feeling more restless. You can find yourself definitely wanting to travel more. You could find yourself wanting to pack up and move abroad. You could find yourself living abroad and then like traveling more, like where you currently live. If you already live abroad, you could find yourself wanting to go back to school, or even getting a degree, getting multiple certifications. Because it's Gemini, I feel like it would be about unique ways of obtaining education, or obtaining a certification, or credibility in a certain realm, you know? So I don't necessarily see it as traditional school. I could see it being like online classes, studying abroad, something like that. So for you guys, Libras, I definitely see you guys being more explorative at this time. You could also find yourself becoming more interested in like studying religions or different walks of life, different spiritual practices. That could become of interest to you as well. With Gemini being so inquisitive and so curious, I do think it being in the 9th house, Uranus entering your 9th house, it's going to make you suddenly want to learn like everything about everything, you know? And it could, again, be about a specific topic. Say you get really into Buddhism or something and you want to learn everything about it, and then suddenly you feel that you're a Buddhist, you know? Like, that's just one example, but it could be something like that. Say you decide to move somewhere and suddenly you're like, I'm going to learn the language and I'm going to be very fluent and I'm going to learn all the cultural things. And, you know, like you could feel very inspired to do something like that. You could, like I said, be inspired to go back to school and get certain qualifications. You could be inspired to start your own practice. You could be inspired to teach or consult as well. There's a lot of different things, but I do think that that's where it's going to be emphasized for you. One thing I will say about the 9th house as well, though, is I find that, especially when I have 9th house transits, I deal with questioning everything. So you're going to want to learn a lot, but it's because you're also questioning everything. And so it could feel, I've found at times it makes me feel very like disassociative, like I don't know what to believe anymore. So keep that in mind as well, because I'm a Gemini sun and rising, so like Uranus entering Gemini, I feel like I can understand how that may impact someone who maybe doesn't have Gemini placements or doesn't experience that energy often. So Libras, just keep that in mind. Like the Gemini energy can have you questioning everything, have you considering every point of view, trying to connect all of the dots, and it can actually help you like walk out of the transit. Like 7 years from now, you might be looking back and thinking, wow, that made me very open-minded. It made me learn so much about the world, or it made me learn so much about, you know, what I believe. Maybe say if you are very religious, you could end up questioning certain things or exploring other belief systems. You know, it makes me think of like you expanding your worldview ultimately and becoming more cultured. I think the curiosity is it's going to be at its peak. You're going to see yourself like wanting to know everything. And you could even find yourself becoming more, I don't want to say pretentious, that's not the word, but antagonistic. Like I said, questioning things more. You could feel more skeptical. You could feel inclined to debate more. So be mindful of that as well. Like if you're like, why do I feel so intense? Or why do I feel so like I'm questioning everything, you know what I mean? Or so skeptical of everything suddenly. You could go from feeling like you thought you knew what you believed to now you're questioning it all, you know? So just keep that in mind and don't let it like disorient you. Just, I would say, like surrender to it and allow yourself to learn, you know, and to be like a student to life and know that there's like so many things about this world that you can discover and that you can unlock, and so being open to that. And also there is a lot of spiritual wisdom that is associated with the 9th house. So I think it's important to understand that the things that you do feel inclined to explore are likely a calling in some way and likely helping you to develop your own wisdom and awareness of your own gifts and of your own calling, you know, and what you're supposed to, like where you're supposed to go in the world and things of that nature. I feel like astrocartography has become really big, and I think that that could be something you guys may find that you become really interested in with these transits as well, or with this specific transit, Uranus and Gemini, through your 9th house. You could start studying your astrocartography and do like an itinerary based on it, or start to make like a travel list, or some of you could end up being like travel bloggers or start to document your travels more. You could travel abroad for the first time. You know, you could get an opportunity to work abroad. It could be something of that nature. So yeah, if you're a Libra rising and that's something you've wanted to do or you've been hoping to do, I would definitely say lean into it as well. Like start planning, because Uranus can be so unexpected, or it can feel shocking, or it could be like major change, unexpected change. I would say, like, rather than being impulsive about it, try to at least come up with the plan so that the positive effects of Uranus are more the spontaneity and not chaos, you know? So allow yourself to be spontaneous and be open-minded, but consider like the direction that it's taking you in and what it is you're trying to experience or learn from it, you know? So that is what advice I'd give to you guys, Libra risings. Scorpio risings. All right, you guys are going to be having Gemini going through your 8th house, or Uranus will be entering your 8th house. And for you guys, I feel like this is going to be an intense transit, but more so because I feel like it's going to force you to purge a lot of mental beliefs or like mentalities that you've had. I think that when it comes to your perception and how you read, like, say, a room or people, certain assumptions that you might have, your instincts, those are going to be challenged. The 8th house is already very much about change, transformation. It's associated with Pluto and it's associated with Scorpio. So you guys are already familiar with the energy, but it being in Gemini with Uranus, it's going to definitely feel a bit challenging, especially because you guys, Scorpio, have your rising in conjunct Gemini. So with your rising in conjunct Gemini, you're not necessarily comfortable with Gemini energy. So Uranus entering your 8th house in Gemini is going to definitely challenge you to change how you think, or consider other people's points of view as well. Being in your 8th house, it could actually make you realize you weren't seeing something clearly, or it could make you realize that your perception is skewed based on a specific experience in your life or a specific relationship in your life. Something that was previously communicated to you that, like, you internalized, you know. You could start to reframe certain beliefs that you have, you know, certain mentalities you have, especially regarding how you are meant to show up for others, how others are meant to show up for you, your sense of self-worth. I was talking about this with Taurus a lot, or was it even Taurus? They're opposite you, so I think so, with them having it in the 2nd house. Yeah, I think I was talking about it with Leo too for other reasons, but I was talking about that 2nd house, 8th house opposition, and how it talks about, like, our value systems, but also how we feel worthy of receiving and what we feel we have to give to others. And so our sense of worthiness and deservingness based on, like, how much we've acquired, how much we have, how much we don't have, etc. So how you share with others, how you relate to others, how you give and receive, what you feel you're deserving of receiving from others, how you feel you need to show up in order to receive those things. All of that could be changing as well. So your mentalities around intimacy and how you build intimacy is definitely going to be changing, you know, and it could show you that a lot of it was rooted in trauma, or again, like, other emotional experiences that you've had in your life that did transform you. It could have been rooted in, like, trying to survive, you know what I mean, or navigate situations where you didn't feel safe or secure. So keep that in mind, Scorpio. I do feel like this is going to be, like, a very spiritually liberating transit for you, because it's going to help you realize where you have actually been holding yourself back simply because of the in conjunction to Gemini. And so it is going to be challenging, but it's going to help you become more free, you know what I mean? I feel like it's going to help you let go of a lot of belief systems that you used to have. It may even help you detach or disconnect from people, certain people who make you feel a certain way, or feed into certain belief systems, who you may even feel codependent to. It could help you break certain addictions. Like, say if you have an addiction or attachment to something or someone, it can really help you free yourself from that cycle and see things from a different perspective. I think it's really going to be helping you guys to realize where a lot of these situations that you either were, like, avoiding, or the emotions you were repressing, things like that, are actually reflecting something that you need to heal, or something that is deeply impacting you that you have to work through and allow to, like, come up and be expressed, explored, communicated. And so it's also finding new ways to communicate your needs and things of that nature. It could also show, like, you can end up feeling sensitive, like, so it can also show where you're being communicated with through your, like, sensory downloads and things like that, how you feel around people, getting sick or not getting sick, like what you adopt from your environment or other people. So 8th house transits or placements can make you very sensitive to other people, to your environments. So it could also make you feel the need to protect yourself more, or, like, it makes me think of, like, the, like, metaphorical, like, masking up, like, during COVID. So it's like the concept of not wanting to consume germs that aren't yours or anything that's not yours. So you're going to be learning to protect your energy in that way more, Scorpio, and you're going to be learning how to separate and be more perceptive in regards to what are your thoughts and emotions and feelings and traumas versus what are other people's, and what have you internalized or consumed, or, you know, internalize is the best word, based on your experiences, and how can you transform your perception through that process. So what else would Uranus in the 8th house bring up for you, Scorpios? I think that that's it, but I'm trying to think if there is anything else. Well, yes, I did want to say that I do think it's also going to impact your intimate connections, like love and intimacy, sex, your relationship to sex, or your own sexuality, how you express those deeper, darker, more intimate sides of yourself. It could be a relationship with, again, your traumas, your anger, your triggers, and things of that nature. It feels like all of those things are needing to like be explored more, reflected upon more, so that you can understand how they are impacting your ability to like build with people, learn from people, connect with people on a deeper level. So that's what I would have for you, Scorpio risings. Okay, Sag risings. So Sagittarius risings, you guys are going to have Uranus entering your 7th house. Obviously, being a Sag rising, you have a Gemini descendant. So entering your 7th house, it is going to be impacting your partnerships, marriage, you know, how you build with others, contracts and things like that, commitments. That is definitely going to be like the one thing that changes the most for you during this transit, with Uranus being associated with change and Gemini being associated with adaptability. What I do think it could look like for some of you, I immediately thought of like polyamory, open relationships, realizing maybe you want multiple partners or a non-traditional type of commitment. In your workplace or in business partnerships, it could be a similar thing. You might find that you don't want like a traditional marriage, that you don't want a traditional family dynamic, that you don't want a traditional job. I said like in the general themes that a lot of you guys could be experiencing like wanting to work from home or wanting to live a more flexible lifestyle, you know, that allows you to move around more because Gemini is so mutable. And I think for you guys, Sagittarius especially, that is going to be the case. It could also be about like, say you are in a relationship, but your partner wants to stay where you guys are at, and you're like, well, I want to move. It's going to be about questioning if, you know, people are going to be able to build with you or grow with you or move with you and adapt in the ways that you adapt, you know, because you guys are such a mutable sign. You're very adaptable. You're always searching for new information and new experiences and things like that. And so and you're ruled by Jupiter. So it's very expansive, and it will require certain types of energy to keep up with you. And so I think that that is something you may end up feeling like restless or bored, or you may even, if your relationship is successful and it's going well and you guys are, you know, able to problem solve, it could be about wanting to like spice up the relationship or change things up. So you could go from being in a traditional monogamous relationship to having like a third person, or being polyamorous, or opening the relationship or something. You could want like a non-traditional marriage, or you could end up meeting someone who is like from another country or from a different culture or something like that for you guys, Sagittarius, as well. You could end up feeling inspired to like also explore your own local community more. Or like I was saying, I think I said this in the general messages as well, that it feels like a kind of reverse, that if you either live somewhere that's already like abroad, or, you know, with different cultures or whatever, say like an example could be like New York or San Fran, you could then feel inspired to explore the different cultures in your local community. You could then be inspired to learn more about like how you're connected to your local community. So say if you live in like a Hispanic community or whatever, like you might want to figure out how you can become more a part of it, you know what I mean? Like I feel like the 7th house in a way is also about like solidarity. And so I do think it's like the people who show up for you, the people who help you obtain or get the things you don't need, like allies and things like that, you know? And so, did I say the things you don't need? The things you do need, you know, the things you don't have, you know, the things that might be your weakness, someone else's strength. It's like about being an ally and showing up for you and vice versa. And so I think that that is something you guys are going to be dealing with a lot, and you're going to be asking yourself, do I feel like people are adaptable enough for me or open-minded enough for me, or do they understand all the different sides of me, or, you know, things like that. Like, I genuinely feel like you're going to feel a bit restless. You know, you could even desire like to go off and do your own thing. You could want to be single, you know what I mean? You could be like, I actually want to be single, or I want to be celibate, or something of that nature. It could go both ways. It could go, because especially with Mercury is a very neutral sign. It could be very sexual, or it could be very celibate. And so I think that it's a matter of its value systems, and again, what it's trying to learn or experience through that thing. And so keep that in mind. I think it's going to be very much about becoming more intentional about what you attach yourself to ultimately. And it's going to be about detachment, because with Gemini also being a mutable sign, but then Uranus being about change and adaptability, it's going to be about how you can acquire what you want, or have healthier like dynamics in your relationships at work, things like that, by being more detached, you know what I mean? By understanding like you don't own anyone or anything, you know what I mean? It could also bring up questions about ownership. So do I want to own a house? Do I want to own this or that? Or do I just want to rent? Or do I just want to live here and there? Do I want multiple properties so that I can move around? Do I, you know, what do I want to invest in that way as well? It's not just going to be your relationships or marriage, but like when I say contracts and investments, it's also going to be those things that you're investing in long term, those things that you're like investing in with another person, or that you're building with another person. For you guys, Sagittarius risings, I think it's going to have you questioning a lot about like, do I even want these traditional things? You know what I mean? Do I want the white picket fence and the marriage and the kids and the business and the house and the this and the that? You know, like that is what you guys are going to be questioning. But definitely you and Scorpio are going to be dealing the most with relationship themes. So you could find your relationships changing, your desire for romance, your priorities and the kind of partner you seek changing. You seeking more from your partner, you feeling restless in your relationships, even in friendships or family connections. It could feel like, are these my people? You know what I mean? And questioning that, or just even wanting to expand. You could realize you've limited yourself, or you haven't been as explorative enough. And so you have to go out and still find your people, or find people who, like I said, can keep up with you. If you've grown, if you've learned something new, if you have different interests, yes, you could still love or respect the people who've always been there, but it may be time for you guys to expand as well and honor that growth that you've been going through. So I'll leave it there for you guys, Sagittarius rising. All right, Capricorn risings. You guys are going to have Uranus entering your 6th house. You have a Gemini 6th house, and the 6th house is all about your work. Work-life balance is what I call it. I call it the work-life balance house, but it's your routines, your habits, your obligations, the things you need to get done on a day-to-day basis, your responsibilities. If you have pets, like having to walk your pet and pick up their shit, those things are related to the 6th house. Again, like your work routines and your work environment, your coworkers, your work hours and things like that. So when I do career readings, I always say the 6th house is like, what kind of job do you want? You know, do you want to be working from home or in the office or out in a cafe somewhere? Do you want to be around a bunch of coworkers, or do you want to be isolated alone? That is very much the 6th house. So for you guys, Capricorn risings, it's going to be very important for you guys to think about that. Like, do I feel as productive as I could be in the environment that I'm in, or working the routine that I'm working? You know, how can you maybe switch up your routine, switch up your environment, switch up your approach to productivity? Really, the 6th house is the house of productivity. So how can you reframe your idea of what productivity is? I feel that for you guys, Capricorns, you guys are very hard on yourself at times, and you could be very I don't want to say obsessed, But I feel like it's because I know a lot of Capricorns who are like, I don't even care about that. I don't want to make all the money and I don't want to work forever and things like that. And I always say that it's very true about Capricorns. But I find that as Capricorns are aging and maturing, being ruled by Saturn, they're learning that. And that's why I said, who was it that had it going through their 10th house? The Virgo risings. I was saying like the 10th house isn't just about what I need to achieve and all the money I want to make and what do I want to be known for. It's like, what even matters to me? So you guys being like associated with the 10th house Capricorns, like the 10th sign of the zodiac, etc., being ruled by Saturn, you guys really have to challenge that idea that like, of like the traditional idea of success or productivity or how you're going to obtain, you know, accolades in your life, because the 6th house is also like what you do to see results, but it can also be like what you feel obligated to do in order to, you know, get opportunities or get your needs met. And so I think it's very important for you to realize like you deserve to have your basic needs met, first of all. And yes, if you want certain luxuries and things like that, then maybe you'll have to work hard for it. But I think a lot of you struggle with, if you're not working or if you're not making a certain amount of money, feeling like your self-worth is gone, you know, or like questioning your path, you know, questioning like, well, what am I doing then? And I think it's important with the 6th house for you to ask yourself, what do you enjoy doing? Especially being in Gemini, you guys have a lot of different skills, a lot of different interests, and I think that at times you may repress them, or you may like monetize everything. Like you may feel like you have to monetize everything. You may feel like if you aren't making money from it, then you shouldn't entertain it. And so Uranus in Gemini is actually, I feel like it's going to show an opportunity where you are able to make money from something you didn't expect, like a skill that you'd had that you didn't, like people didn't realize you had, or it comes out in some way, you're able to showcase it in some way, and it starts to help you see that you can create opportunities and a legacy and be productive through just being yourself and through your own interest or ideas and things like that. And so Capricorns, I think this is Capricorn risings, I think this is a really good time to challenge that traditional thinking of I just need to have the job or the 9 to 5, or even when it comes to like I want to start a business or something, you might find you're like, I actually don't want to start a business. I just want gig work, or I just want passive income, or I just, you know, it could really shake up how you view productivity the most. That's what I will say. It's maybe going to make you realize I don't want to be working 12-hour days. I don't want to be working for other people. I don't want to have to be subjected to like be around these coworkers that I don't relate to every day and spend majority of my life here. That is what's going to come up for you, Capricorn risings, and it's going to question like, what are you building toward? And I said the same thing to Scorpio. You guys are in conjunct Gemini, so I think this transit is probably going to be the most challenging for you and Scorpio risings, because the in conjunction to Gemini shows you are not comfortable with Gemini energy. You don't relate to it. You don't get it sometimes. And so you are going to be forced to adapt. You are going to be forced to be less traditional in your thinking. You're going to be forced to be less structured as well, to be more flexible and fluid, more mutable ultimately. Especially because it's in your day-to-day routines and how you're showing up on a day-to-day basis. It's definitely going to feel challenging for you guys, probably even more. I won't say more than Scorpio, but you could see it immediately because it's happening in your workplace, or it's happening in your house, or in your, day-to-day routines, your commutes and things like that. And so you might find that things are changing and you're like, it could affect your sense of self-worth, because I said this to other signs as well, but I keep talking about how the 2nd, 6th, and 10th house are all connected. They're all the earth-ruled sign, like earth sign houses. And so I talk about how they're the career houses or the developmental houses. And so the 6th house is an extension of what we feel we deserve and what we're trying to build toward. And a lot of people will take jobs that are underpaying them, or like that don't treat them well, or don't provide them with the proper benefits or whatever else, because they feel they need a job. They feel they're obligated to work. And you can see that things are changing in the sense that, like, what is it, Z, Gen X, whatever, Gen Z, they're very much like, I'm not working that job. I don't care. Like, it's not worth it, you know? And a lot more people are finding like other ways to make income because they're saying going to this job for 8-9 hours a day because of my break or whatever else isn't adding up. It's not working for me, and it's not actually benefiting my life at all. If anything, it's taking away from my life. It's taking away from my ability to be at home with my pets, with my family, with my kids, with whatever. And it's interrupting that work-life balance. And so for you guys Capricorn risings, it's about no longer submitting to that kind of lifestyle and being adaptable and realizing like there are other ways for you to be productive, make money, have the same income or more, you know, like it actually is an opportunity to show that this can liberate you. Like I keep saying to people, Uranus is about liberation and freedom as well. It's about change and innovation and progress. It can be a positive thing. And so keep in mind that this is pushing you to realize like that is no longer working and it's time to try something new, you know? So that is for you Capricorn risings. Aquarius risings. Okay, this for you is going to impact your 5th house. You're going to have Uranus entering your 5th house in Gemini. And I think that that's really beautiful because I feel like it's going to help you guys become more expressive and kind of get out of your shell or possibly even get out of your head when it comes to certain things. You will likely end up feeling this like childlike wonder. I feel like you're going to start to feel a lot more whimsy. I feel like you're going to start to feel a lot more carefree. I think a lot of you are also going to start to feel more like validated in the work that you do, or recognized in the work that you do. So I think it's going to give you guys more courage to be more expressive or experimental. The 5th house can be related to like the arts and creativity and creative expression, but it can also be like what we're creating in general. So the life we're creating, that like if we want to conceive children, it's about conception. And so it does make me think of you guys even getting to a place in your life where you feel more inspired, you feel more excited about the possibilities. So you could start to think of like maybe you do start to feel like, do I want kids, and like question certain things. You could like start to explore new hobbies. The 5th house is also related to hobbies. It's also associated with like sexual matters, like the more shallow levels of intimacy. I won't say shallow, but like it's like not like the 7th or 8th house where this is like this long-term commitment or deep intimate bond. It's more of like the fun hookups and getting to know people and being courted and casual dating. And so those things could also come up. So I feel like for you guys, it is going to feel inspiring, and it feels like it could make you feel more like carefree and fun and like, I'm just gonna see where this goes kind of thing. And that could be really good because Uranus is already about change and adaptability, but then Gemini is also all about like curiosity and exploration in that way. So wanting to like know what all of your options are before you commit to something, I feel like that is really important. So you guys could I don't know why I want to say fuck boy, fuck girl era. I don't even know. Like some of you might feel that way. Like you could be in a place where you're like, I don't give a fuck, you know, like you could feel more carefree. You could even definitely be a little bit more focused on your own pleasure. That's another thing that comes up with the 5th house, like our relationship with pleasure, you know, and joy. And so you could be a lot more focused on your own joy. You could do a lot more things for the plot. You could be a lot more spontaneous and just like, F it, I'm gonna do that just for the lore, just for the plot, just to see where it goes, or, you know, just to say I did it, you know what I mean? You guys could find that you're like, you go from a place of like maybe you were bored or restless to being like, F it, I'm, you know, just gonna go for things. And you could have more leaps of faith. You could be more candid, like I said, more expressive, like I said. Like people might even be like, oh, okay, Aquarius, like you could have like a creative rebirth or like awakening is kind of how I'm seeing it, like where you start to really showcase certain parts of you. People might realize, oh, I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know you had that skill. I didn't know you could paint or that you used to dance or things like that, Aquarius. So I think that this would be a really good time for you guys to also start to invest in your hobbies more, especially if it's a hobby you've wanted to monetize or you've wanted to turn into something greater that you've seen as an extension of your potential career or your legacy, you know, then it is going to be important for you to like invest in that right now, because I feel like it's going to help you to get there, and it's going to help people to see what you're capable of and also see what they can also, how they can connect with you, what they can connect with you on, and where you guys can like maybe collaborate and be, like, it makes me think of play, you know, like playing together, being creative together, being inspired by others and things like that, with the 5th house being opposite the 11th house. So you will definitely want to like be more open-minded and put yourself out there at this time, because with Uranus being about like things that shake the table, or, you know, shocking change, unexpected change, you could end up getting some kind of opportunity from it. You could end up finding the love of your life from it. You could end up, I don't know, some of you guys might get pregnant, just saying, be careful with that. Like, you could end up having a baby from it, just because it's going through your 5th house and it's Uranus. So it could be like unexpected pregnancy. You could be in like hooking up with someone and you get pregnant, you know what I mean? Be careful of those things. So I would definitely say, you know, wrap it up if you're not trying to have children. Be careful of, like I did say, like y'all could, some of y'all could be in like your fuckboy, fuckgirl era. So be careful of that as well, of like being too casual or too loose with things, if that makes sense as well. But it definitely is a good time for experimentation and seeing what comes of that experimentation. The whole idea of like throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks, you know, dating multiple people, dating casually, romanticizing your life, you know what I mean? Being more adventurous and spontaneous and things like that. The other thing I wanted to actually say to you guys is I also think it's going to impact how you guys dress or how you like express yourself through fashion and your outward appearance, just because the 5th house can be like experimentation with fashion, with clothing and things like that, accessorizing and, you know, being playful in that way. And so I do also think Uranus and Gemini is going to make you guys want to experiment with your style. You might end up starting to wear like brighter colors or more patterns or more textures, or you could just be like, oh, maybe if I, you know, experiment with my style, like I'll come across this way more, or like I'll attract these things more. Like, it could be about like glamour magic in a way as well, or just like aligning spiritually through fashion, through the colors you're wearing, how people look, or how you resonate with other people as well. I think I'm real big into fashion, so I do think that matters, like how you're dressing or how you're conducting yourself and expressing yourself through your clothes, and how that attracts certain people, or just makes you more attractive to certain people, you know? So keep that in mind as well. It can, in a way, be like how you are trying to fit in, or how you're trying to attract like that soul tribe, or like the right people who you relate to, you know? So that's for you, Aquarius. Pisces risings. All right, you guys are going to be having Uranus and Gemini in your 4th house. And that might feel a bit intense, because the 4th house is the lowest point of our chart. It is connected to our IC line. It's associated with our home life, our family life, privacy, like the deepest aspects of our soul. And so the 4th house can be pretty intense. It can also be like generational patterns, ancestry, and things like that, like our sense of belonging and where we are rooted, you know, where we feel grounded. And so many of you could find that your home environment changes. It can be that your dynamics with family change. Say something happens in your family, like something, you could end up cutting someone off. You could end up getting in an argument with someone. You could end up discovering something shocking, like a lie or a truth that's been hidden that you realize, and then it makes you see someone differently. You could want to move out. You could move out spontaneously. Something could happen to your housing that forces you to move out as well. So I don't want to scare anyone or make anyone anxious, but that is also something to keep in mind. So if you already may feel like your housing is unstable or you don't have what you need, it could be about like trying to get those resources as quickly as possible or as soon as possible. It could be about working with other people or coming up with a plan. It could be about negotiating or talking to your landlord. It could be about moving out as soon as you can so that you can avoid any of those things. But I think for you guys, it's going to shake things up and show you where you do not feel stable, where you do not feel secure or supported in your environment, where you may need to move or explore new places to build upon, because it is the lowest point of your chart. So it makes me think of our roots. It's associated with the roots. And so it makes me think, I was just learning, someone posted a video on X and it was about how trees grow both ways. Shout out to B, because I think it was B who posted it, but like how trees grow both ways, and how they first start to grow into the soil and have to be rooted before they can grow into the light and expand into the tree that it is. And so it just makes me think of how the 4th house and the 10th house are that similar energy, what we're growing out and up toward and what we are having to explore within our roots, you know, and within what came before us, or what is beneath us, and you know, what we're an extension of, basically, with our family, etc. And so I think that for you guys, Pisces risings, with Uranus entering your 4th house in Gemini, and Gemini being such like a mental sign, there is going to be a lot of like reflecting, realizing, introspection, with it being the 4th house and it being, you know, the lowest point of our chart. And it's going to require us to do that introspection and to kind of even like dive deeper or go backwards, look into our past, look into our family history, things like that. I say I'm not a Pisces rising, but you know, look into your family history, look into your even like emotional patterns, mental health history, things like that, to understand how to overcome certain things, to understand how to attack certain things or achieve certain things or go after certain things. So that is going to be important. And in that video was saying that like until that tree is rooted, it can't really start to fully expand and grow. And so you have to get rooted in, you know, like that's where I think shadow work comes in. So I think for you guys, this transit is going to bring up a lot of shadow work and help you to have like certain breakthroughs and realizations regarding why you are the way you are, why your family are the way they are, you know, different things like that, what kind of family you want to create for yourself, what changes would have to take place to make that happen. There could be like questions of fertility, questions of like it does make me think of like surrogacy. Like say if someone wants to have a child, Pisces, you might not be able to, Pisces risings, you might not be able to child, and then you're like, I want to do you know, I want to get a surrogate, or I'm going to try IVF or whatever, you know, like there could be some kind of major change or innovation when it comes to family for you. You could want to adopt, or someone else in your family could adopt someone. It could be something like that. So yeah, just keep that in mind. You know, it could change your family dynamic in a major way. You could end up pregnant or something. So yes, I'm trying to think of what else would impact you with the 4th house. Like I said, it could definitely be a housing thing. You could decide to want to move. You could decide that like a different neighborhood is better for you. It could be like realizing that a neighborhood is unsafe or something, like something could happen in your neighborhood that makes you be like, oh yeah, like that was too unpredictable or too close or too, you know, like it made me feel uncomfortable, so I'm gonna move. So it could be something like that for you as well, Pisces rising. So keep that in mind. You could also be realized that you're called to like break generational patterns at this time. Certain things could come up that do help you to realize like you're specifically being called to address something, or to break a cycle, or to maybe confront something within your family dynamic, you know. So it could feel chaotic in that way as well. It could feel like something that might even be out of your control. Like I said, something else that happens that leads to realization or breakthrough, or someone being exposed or something being exposed. So keep that in mind as well. But I do think you could end up feeling like, why is this happening? But then realize like it had to happen so that you could address something that was deeper or more important, or that needed to change. And I keep saying this to people so that you can feel liberated, so that you could be free, like spiritually, because Uranus is associated with freedom, with liberation, with change and upheaval as well, like purging what needs to be like ridded of, you know. So it's about getting rid of things that it's no longer working, it's no longer useful. So that's why I feel like you could realize in this transit that you have been chosen to break generational cycles, or that you have a responsibility, or you're a key aspect in breaking the generational cycles. Because I think of Gemini and how it is about being connected to everyone, or, you know, being adaptable in that way. So it's not just the individual, but it's how you can work with other people, but knowing like that you play a role, you know, that you play a part in it. And so even if it was like, say, if you're like, well, my family is not going to change, it's about your role. It makes me think of how a lot of people say they don't want to break generational cycles, they want to recreate them or create new cycles. That is kind of what, like, the framework I think you guys should work from, because I think that that would help more as well. It's not really about breaking them, it's about changing them and creating new habits, new cycles within your family dynamics and standards, not even habits, but standards, you know, and that would obviously affect actions and habits and all of that. But that's what I think is going to come up most for you guys, Pisces rising. And last but not least, Aries. I know you guys are used to being first. I did it backwards because I started with Gemini, but you guys are going to be dealing with Uranus in your third house. You guys have a natural chart. So with Aries, Taurus, Gemini, all aligning with their respective houses, you will have Gemini in the third house. So I feel like this is going to make you guys a little smarty pants, in a good way. I do feel like it could make you obsessive about something. It could make you want to learn everything you can about something, or about everything as well. It can make you a lot more curious, you know. It could inspire you to do more research, or even want to learn from other people. It could inspire you to want to like talk more, communicate more, share more. I just feel like even with like the transits that we just had in Aries, I feel for some of you guys, it could help you feel more audacious, you know what I mean? I feel like you guys are already that way, but I do feel that it could help you feel even more audacious, even more like confident in your expression, in your own ideas. It could help you like be more inclined to share. Maybe at times you are, how do I say this? I feel that for you, Aries, you could be more focused on your own ideas, or your own intentions about something, what you're trying to achieve in the grand scheme of things. But I think this transit is going to help you realize that you can actually achieve even greater when you collaborate or work with other people, when you are open to other people's ideas, when you also are in a more collaborative state of mind. You know, I think that that is really going to help you. And there could even be a specific person who comes into your life. It could also be like a sibling or an aunt or an elder or something, because all of those things are associated with the third house. But it could end up being a significant person who ends up changing your perspective on something, or wakes you up to something, or makes you realize something. So you could end up having major realizations and breakthroughs during this transit, specifically Aries, that help you to better communicate, better understand or connect with other people. It could help you gain more clients, more sales, more things like that. It could make you more of a people person, if that makes sense. And it could force you to be a people person. It could make you realize you need to be more connected to your community as well. With the third house being like associated with local environment, it could be like, okay, you got to get out there on the streets, you know, like you got to go talk to people and understand what the local community needs, more so than like maybe if you were working more online or something like that. So say if you are functioning a lot online, you might realize like maybe local, like guerrilla street marketing might help me more. Maybe word of mouth might help me more than trying to like pay for like streams on TikTok or something, you know what I mean? Like it makes me think of that, like how can you try different ways of connecting with people and putting yourself out there, pitching yourself. Marketing is associated with the third house. public speaking and things like that, like connecting with people through telling your story, sharing who you are. I also think that this transit is really going to help you guys to show like, or to realize like the more that you show your true personality and tell your story, and the more that you're candid and things like that, it's going to help attract the perfect, like whether it's client or friend or like person to help you to expand upon your ideas or help you to again shift your point of view. It could be like a mentor or something, which I did just say. So keep that in mind, Aries. You could also want to learn new languages. I was saying this, I can't think of the other sign I said this to. Geminis, because they are, you know, dealing with Gemini in the first house. So I just feel like there is a bit similarities. You guys are also sextile each other. So Aries placements, or Aries rising specifically, sorry, you guys could also feel inclined to like want to learn new languages, and not just languages, but think about how like body language is a language. It's like how like different ways of expressing yourself or showing up. It could be you wanting to change your mannerisms. Maybe you pronounce words a certain way, you don't like that, you want to change that. Maybe you have a thick accent and you're trying to be more understood, and so you want to be able to like perfect an accent or something. Like that's the kind of things I'm thinking about. That's really random, but it makes me think of wanting to be more understood, wanting to be more received, and like people be more receptive to you, and so finding ways to do that. And so that's what I mean by the sharing, and maybe not just thinking about how you're going to benefit or respond to something, or why you like something, or why you deem something like interesting, valuable, whatever, but like how other people would respond to it as well. And I think that's going to help you connect to your communities. It's going to help you, like I said, like gain more clients, build more intimacy and understanding in your connections as well, and just be more open-minded and a little bit more empathetic as well, Aries risings. I feel like this could definitely help you build more intimacy or like vulnerability in your relationships, your connections as well. So I think I'm gonna leave it there for you guys. I'm trying to think of anything else, but I think that is it. If you guys did enjoy these messages, please comment. Let me know if it resonated with you. Let me know if you relate, if you've already feel like you are like sensing that these things are going to take place. Make sure that you subscribe as well. Make sure you go watch your other videos that I posted about your signs. I'm going to be posting more consistently, and trying to break down like the major transits that start taking place each week, each month, whatever. So definitely subscribe so that you can stay ahead of that. I'll obviously post on my other platforms, but I do want to start meeting here and having these conversations together. So make sure you're engaging. I really do appreciate the comments and things. But otherwise, I look forward to the next video, and I will talk to you guys soon.